Welcome to Golden Age Now, a special unscripted version. I, like many people, I have mental health problems. We're all different, similar in some ways, different than others. My issues perhaps don't run as deeply as some, yet I have carried them with me for quite some time. I need to be needed. I work on priceless things. Long have I done so. Yet I live in financial poverty. It's a difficult path, to be sure. To find the energy to work on important things when our financial base, our material base is lacking. Indeed, it takes a lot of emotional strength. I've been a musician for a long time. I was a musician as a kid. I lacked the emotional understanding of this. I got away from it, got back into it in my young adulthood. Partly my life is difficult because I embraced musicianship. To me, that's an indication of an upside down world. If people are dedicating themselves to develop in ways that align with their spirit, in ways that they love, it is inappropriate that they should experience financial hardship cumulative over the years while other people are getting ahead. They are getting left behind. Several years ago, I came across a concept I wasn't ready for, and it said that if we want to increase our financial standard of living, we need to increase the amount of impact that we have upon the world. When I first heard that, it's a beautiful concept. I wasn't ready for it. 3 weeks into living out of a car, 2022, March of 2022, the third week, I committed to writing a book. I felt like the songs that I had been writing, though each and every song was about contributing to a better world somehow, I just wasn't getting into the industry as a musician. I could make some money on the street, but nothing significant to get me into housing based on what I was making from the street, for example. 3 weeks into living out of my car, I decided to work on a book. I have spent my entire adulthood, more than a quarter century. You can see the bit of gray, the bit of white in here. If I were to shave the beard for the right role, and I would love to do so, I bet I could play a 30-something-year-old character. If you see the grayish in the beard, yeah, it kind of gives it away, the gray-white coming in. For more than a quarter century, I've been learning about unusual things. I've become a cornerstone in traditional architecture. We can think of it, I think of it anyways, as metaphorically supporting a change in direction of the structure. The beautiful Pink Floyd song, The Wall, another brick in the wall. The bricks in the wall of society, and however you are a brick in society, I appreciate that. You are needed. You contribute to society in some manner that is needed. Those that don't fit in to the traditional structure can help that structure move into a new orientation. I need to be needed. Often I felt like learning for its own merits in the moment. Learning it was its own reward in the moment. It seemed like the right thing to do. Through my smallish social media presence in recent years, the more I began to understand the state of the world, the less people wanted to pay attention to me. The less people liked me. Recent years, I had somebody I thought was a friend. Now we are certainly acquaintances, strained acquaintances at that. Not in any way how I postured myself, other than unapologetically, respectfully presenting the truth. increasingly in recent years, I've seen them turn their back on me. And more recently, this was on the topic of cancer, how it has been cured for a number of years. It's sad to me that this is such an inflammatory topic for people. Not for the people that can name a variety of cures, but for those that refuse to acknowledge it. This is part of the mental problems I'm dealing with right now, is that I want to help. I'm here to help. And so many of the people I seek to help, they have become averse to the truth. In an upside down world, many embrace the lies. It has been said that we live in a world of lies. In so many respects, this is true. And yet people embrace the lies. Because so many people reject the truth. And I'm not saying I know everything. And I'm not saying I don't make mistakes. And sometimes I have discussions with people that help me to see more. But most frequently, when I have discussions with people in unusual topics, in realms that I'm familiar with, and they want to discuss with me or debate with me, either they see more or they discuss debate in a very selective way. If I present 4 or 5 points, they might hone in on a single one. Or they might choose not to dialogue at all. Turn their back, and turning their backs on things that I know. They're turning their back on me, and this weighs on me. Often, I have experienced sadness at this. I've also realized I have a lot of emotional strength. I have a lot of inner strength. I've gone a long road, mostly on my own, but it wasn't a lonely road, meaningful road, difficult road. People that I've wanted to help, people that I knew I could share information with that would help them help themselves, help us to better the world, to liberate the world, not just a little bit, but to just blow the lid off the crap of the old world, create a remarkable new one. And it's no coincidence that for some years there's been talk of a great reset, prior to that a new world order. I've long come to understand in the spiritual war, both the light and the dark, they have these interesting reflections that they overlap and yet are very different. Got a recent song working on called The Great Free Get. This is pretty clear, a play on words to something that some organizations are manipulating, deceiving the populace into going along with. I need to be needed. The more powerful I become in my awareness and in my bearing, how I carry myself, the more weight that I bury, the more weight that I carry as a burden if it's not properly utilized. While eventually living in squalor. The last 13 months I slept in a car writing this book, putting, if the world is a lie, if there are lies everywhere, this book is the best way that I'm aware of, other than tapping in within ourselves for sources of inspiration and knowledge, to get broad spectrum, more than can be revealed in a moment's inspiration and a moment's intuition. I know of no better source that covers all the terrain, as much as with the greatest relevance. Things we need to know, yet most people are not aware of. Terrain to be aware of so we can successfully navigate it. Opportunities we have to create magnificence. I mentioned to somebody a few days ago, somebody that got a copy of the book locally. I've sold about 50 copies of the book so far. Every time it sells, it makes a difference in preferably many people's lives. Wondering how to characterize what I've been learning about for my entire adulthood. I have learned of our greatness, and our greatness has been hidden. It has been suppressed. It saddens me that people are averse, somehow, as though almost allergic. People are repelled by the truth. They're drawn to the lies. I had a conversation at the community center here with a new friend of mine of recent weeks. And he said, he and I both at the same time, he said psychological, and then at the same time we both said defense mechanism. When I was 20 years old, give or take a year, 19, 21, somewhere in that time frame, I began learning about unusual things. I gravitated to them. The more that I learned, more fascinated by it, I sought it out. After about 6 months of learning about unusual things, I realized that the world 1111 was completely not. It was so different from how I had brought up considering it to be. Before I knew who I was learning about unusual things. Before I had formulated an identity, I'd begun learning about unusual things. People of more fixed mindsets, I empathize. I don't really understand why people, if somebody is presenting a truth that can help, like when I say there's different cures for cancer that have been suppressed. Let's say that this is true. Maybe somebody doesn't know. Wouldn't it be right to look into it? It would seem, if right is what's going to be the greatest amount of health and well-being for the populace, and wrong would be turning away from it. I'm going to speak more on this topic and that acquaintance and the interaction we had, my respect and my tact, and him calling me disrespectful. One of the many people I reached out to when I got this book into print, indicating I'd spent 16 months living in a car, working on this book. The last 13 months that I lived out of that car, it didn't run. That was very difficult. Many of the final months of working on the book, the car wasn't running. And the last place that it was parked, the sun didn't shine. And I had weird things growing in there. They were squalid conditions. The book had been out for months. About half the family members I reached out to, they got a copy of the book. Old acquaintance / friends that I reached out to, only one of them did. And then I stopped reaching out to people. 2 people said to me that they would get a copy and they didn't. And I know that they didn't because my sales were so minimal at the time that when somebody said to me they would get a copy and I saw a copy sell, I knew who bought it. Through Amazon, I would see this. It makes me sad sometimes when I see people in far more comfortable conditions than myself. And yeah, inflation is making things difficult, increasingly difficult for a lot of people. Nonetheless, to present a book of solutions, of understanding and solutions for challenging conditions, and these people turn away from it, it makes me sad to know that I'm in a great deal of financial poverty, working on priceless things. My need to be needed most weighs on me, knowing that I have this powerful awareness. Sometimes way showers, change makers in society, it is a difficult road for their isolation. It takes a great deal of strength of character. I see some of these change makers and way showers that are established in their careers. They're supported. I know that my emotional well-being is 100% my responsibility. And yet, somehow, it can be, it is affected by other people somehow as well. It's a strange kind of paradox. The only one that I can sense as paradoxical. Often the word paradox to me means, if you look from a higher vantage point, both sides or multiple sides, seemingly different, are part of a spectrum of perspective. There are multiple perspectives, each with their own truth in those situations. This sense I have, that I have like a seed. I have put up shoots, creative shoots. I've done this with albums of mine previously in this book. Every single one of my songs is like that, to a lesser extent. But it's that creative energy brought forth, the practicing, the cultivating. And then I put it out there. I break through the soil, put the project out there, and it needs sunlight. And the sunlight is not from the seed. The sunlight, as I see it, it's the supportive presence from the community that says, yes, we are pleased that you are here. I wrote the book partly because I saw a lot of sad people when I was busking that ignored me, and I thought, oh, if they only knew the state of the world, they could live a more meaningful life. I'm certain that we need not have any inflation. That's part of manipulations. Cost of energy, for example, there is remarkable power generation technology that would lower the cost of energy. Incredible medical technology that would address so many of our ailments. Incredibly meaningful ways of life that would address psychological ailments that people have. Ways of life where people like myself that have developed greatly and need their integration, need that sunlight, need the impact. Were other people choosing a meaningful life as well, we would have meaning in lifting each other up. To show you the chapter listing from this book. What really happened? Do you want to know what really happened? Theoretically, you would think, yeah, people want to know what really happened. So many people are. I don't understand why exactly. People are afraid to know what really happened. But in a nutshell, this planet's been manipulated for thousands of years. People are becoming aware of this, and we got to fight for our freedom. A tale of two worlds and the path to the golden age. Incredible times. Challenging times on the way there. Let's see how clear these can be. Raise some. From one articulation, this book about fixing and healing the planet in ways that few people knew were possible. We have solutions for every problem. It's about revealing things that most people would never know to look for. It's about revealing things that make it obvious this planet has been manipulated. Perhaps in the next installment of this channel, I have two examples that I've come to realize are very clear indications that the media is lying to us. Lying in what they present, either by who's putting the script in front of the newscasters, the speakers, the talking heads, lying in that sense of where it came from, about great evils happening in the planet. But also another example showing a beautiful technology that enhances food production without any chemicals. Profoundly newsworthy. And yet, it's not on any of the news, any of the mainstream news. I stand by that this book is 1,000 times more newsworthy than anything that could be read. The new traditional format of this new channel is that it ends with an original song. Typically, it starts with the song, ends with the song as well. Usually, the introductory song is the same. Probably going to stay like that for a while. This being the first installment of more of a free-form, unscripted version of this channel. And when it's scripted, that's scripted by me. Write my own script, follow my own inspiration, not having somebody tell me what I gotta say. This song, from my cramped confines of the back of a van, my security and privacy keeps me off the street. Transportation, gratitude, helps get us through difficult times. And one final note before returning to the song. Often my sadness for the challenges of my life quickly become compassion and a motivation. A compassion that the thought forms of this planet, the mental state has been so manipulated. I so feel for the psychological dysfunction, psychological ailment that people have that they can hide from the truth, that they won't. And motivation. Because if it is so difficult for me to make a living doing the right thing, it shows how great is the need for this planet to have people doing such. This was the first song that I played in the first full format version of this channel, so it's appropriate to revisit it on this first installment, unscripted, from the host, the messenger of the Holy Ghost. This one's called No Falsify Rebirth. No falsify with rebirth. Right enough of the liars. No earth will rise. For our brothers and our sisters and of them that now they've been able to say, well, they have to open some Maya and clarify the power of what together we can be as a new world will rise. No falsify, I will no longer. No falsify the media. No edge of peace, harmony, and abundance gonna last for longer than the thousands of years of darkness, manipulation upon us. We've had Pockets of light, sunshine and tire. Time for worldwide, eyes wide, hearts wide, enough to separate, divide. Together we rise. Benevolent extraterrestrials have been here a long time. Yeah, they're out there somewhere. They're so out there, many ways. And many are here to help. We can and will disarm nuclear weaponry. Historically, this has been done so. No need of fear of nuclear World War III. Many wonders has ascended beyond the planet. Shadow of Kabbalah, yeah. Yeah, but they want us to follow. With the many deception, they were fake. Alien invasion. Planted with the hidden crap. Time for us to craft and forage plans of our own. Ending their deception. Blending our conceptions of best version of no falsify Rebirth.Earth. I cannot free this world. I cannot fix this world. I cannot liberate this world. But we can. Let us be here for each other. This is the way nature intended us to be.